So we just covered American Psycho, and Ariana reacted like this, and like this. But I just saw American Psycho 2, and it garnered reactions a lot more like this, and this. And with the massive talent of the Mila Kunis and the William Shatner and a Morgan Freeman, you gotta ask yourself, what went wrong?
He was the most notorious serial killer of his time. American Psycho continues.
Well, as it turns out, American Psycho 2, All-American Girl, wasn't even originally supposed to be an American Psycho sequel. It was actually an unrelated script called The Girl Who Wouldn't Die. Catchy, I know. But after the success of Psych 1, what's that? Not better. Okay. But after the success of American Psycho 1, Lionsgate decided to do some sneaky modifications in order to connect it with the first movie.
You know how some babysitters take you to the movies? Mine brought me along on a date with a serial killer, Patrick Bateman. As soon as I was free, I got really pissed.
Oh, this dialogue. So yeah, Patrick Bateman gets stabbed to death with an ice pick by a little girl.
I silently vowed to devote my life to stopping other psycho killers.
So afterwards, I guess the idea is that the experience makes her want to hunt down other serial killers in the future, kind of like a Dexter Morgan. Did Dexter rip off Morgan Freeman's American Psycho 2? Whatever the case, Rachel decides that her future plans involve joining the FBI. Why is she dressed like she's in the Matrix?
That's what your mama said.
So we catch up with her at college, where she gives us the lowdown on the students that she has to eliminate from the competition. Each one of them are vying for Professor Starkman's TA position.
Cassandra Blair. Rumor has it that she and Starkman have been going at it since the beginning of the semester.
I didn't think about how annoying it may be to have to listen to young Mila Kunis narrate the entire movie. But Rachel's actual first victim is Gertrude Fleck. Fleck. Did Joker rip off American Psycho 2, All-American Girl? And with all of the pieces set, we're ready to get into the killing. The music is either weird, goofy clown music or no doubt rip-off music. And the movie does this thing I love where they set up how annoying a character is in the scene for Rachel so that she can kill them in the very next scene.
Ricky Martin! Ricky! Ricky!
It's like the director heard that American Psycho was a black comedy and didn't understand what kind of comedy. This is a very good Emiliana Turini song. Oh no, you got ketchup all over the microwave. Not to doubt Morgan Freeman, but you know, you would think that generally you would set up all of these different characters and the way that they all annoy her individually, and then we would start to kind of tip those dominoes over in the future and have her start killing them, you know, towards the climax. But Morgan Freeman's got other ideas. Next on Rachel's hit list is Brian Leeds. And his deal is that he's a rich kid who doesn't really deserve to go to Quantico. It's just because of his father's money, so your boy's gotta go. But before Brian can exit the stage, the movie decides to play him as a red herring of sorts. When Miss Fleck was getting murdered, they hid the identity of the killer. But then when Brian comes later to talk to Rachel in the next scene, he's wearing a very suspiciously similar hoodie, which maybe could have been a little bit suspenseful if the poster didn't look like this. So after offering her $1 million to back down, and then vaguely threatening her with, I don't know,
the alternative wouldn't be too pleasant.
She decides to send him to Jesus in a kill scene that's, well, why don't you fight back? You could stand up. You could grab her. I really hope that's not supposed to be a big reveal.
Yep, I just killed Brian.
Now you may be thinking to yourself, goodness me, what will the school do when they find out that he's missing? Well, you see, the answer is they won't. So weirdly far into the movie, it finally decides to grace us with the key players of the plot when Rachel decides to go start seeing a therapist. And you'll forgive me if I've completely forgot why.
And my future depends on not getting eaten by the other dogs. I have schedules of
What is that transition? Why was that transition?
anyone who gets in my way.
If you could be anyone in the world,
Why? And just like any normal psychiatrist, immediately after their meeting, he decides to call his friend and tell him a bunch of confidential information about a patient he just saw. Oh, and by the way, his friend is Professor Starkman. Oh, and by the way, Starkman is William Shatner. Oh, and by the way, William Shatner always looks like he's embarrassed to be in this movie.
What's up?
hey, look, Bobby, I just had a first-time session with one of your students.
And that bitch is crazy.
If she's that dangerous, maybe you better tell me her name. before she turns up in class with an AK-47.
Cringe.
So the doctor and Rachel kind of get into this cat and mouse game for the rest of the movie where he kind of knows that she's crazy, but then she knows that he knows that she's crazy, and neither of them really kind of do anything about it. But before you know, it's time for Rachel to kill someone again, so off we go. Just keep running, Mila. No, it's good. We need all of this. It's all going to go into the movie. It's worth it. Just keep running. So Rachel goes to meet her roommate who's having an affair with Starkman at some party.
My heart rate nearly triples when I get to the party and see that the vultures have already descended upon Starkman.
No.
This is a disaster.
No, we don't get to do this late. All right, so you've had her narrate the whole time. That's one thing.
I'm killing the few to save the many. Sort of like Robin Hood, you know?
But now you're going to have her narrate with the same staccato style this late into the movie?
I'm on the verge of tears by the time we arrive at a spas, since I'm positive we won't have a decent table. But we do, and relief washes over me.
You know?
It's like someone remembered, oh crap, and we have to actually have her talk like Patrick did. And she explains that she actually has heard that she's going to be a shoo-in for getting the position, you know, because she's having an affair with the professor. It's kind of like, Rachel, that's how that works. So Rachel does her thing.
It's like I said, Cassie. Student-teacher relationships just never work out.
But after Starkman goes to Cassandra's room for some hanky-panky, what are the odds that he read the script? You think he just maybe showed up on set and said, okay, what do I say? He discovers her corpse and decides to call his friend for some moral support.
Bobby, how could you do this to Diane?
None of your fucking business.
But the best part is that Starkman decides to play the pronoun game rather than say Cassandra's name out loud.
For God's sakes, she's dead.
Who is?
She is.
So that this way the psychiatrist can mistake who he's talking about for Rachel rather than Cassandra. This is good because it's going to cause a lot of confusion later when we get into the third act, and it no, it doesn't matter at all. It doesn't come back. It's just so they can have like a long, boring conversation at a restaurant. Is the restaurant Dorsia? No.
Wait, you heard I hung myself?
Yes.
I'm gonna be honest with you. Totally forgot that he thought she hung herself. That's on me. Now, before we move on too far, I want to back up a little bit to a character that the movie also seems to have forgotten about.
Mr. Lawson wishes to participate. Please, let's hear it.
I forgot this character was in this movie. I mean, this guy doesn't even really show up in the Wikipedia page and the plot. Can't even find him in the cast listing. But just like this movie likes to do, he gets a scene to be mildly annoying to her while they have the world's strangest dick measuring contest.
Premeditated with a capital P.
Capital P.
P, it's a letter in the alphabet. Between the O and the Q.
Only for that tension to be concluded in the very next scene where she murders him with an ice pick.
It was time to pick Keith's brain.
Now, may I ask what the deal with the sickle is? It seems like they half wanted to make her a Jason Voorhees type of slasher with a signature weapon, but then she only uses the ice pick a few times, and the rest of the time resorts to, condoms and ropes. And the poster features this giant sickle that, come on, I wanted to see it. Eventually, the movie gets us back on track, with Rachel going to seduce a heavily sedated Bobby Starkman, which ends with him tragically falling out of a window for kind of no reason. Convenient. But during her Oscar-worthy monologue, it is revealed to us that
She's the one who tracked him down. And she went to his apartment that night and dragged me along.
Why?
Rich and good looking. Remind me why we're together again?
That's not Patrick Bateman.
Oh! Don't fall apart on me now, Rach.
She is indeed not Rachel Newman and has stolen that identity from her old roommate, whom she murdered.
Oh, the Newman girl, she was an orphan.
Must have been so hard growing up an orphan.
Her roommate was an orphan, so when she went missing, no one looked into it. So by that logic, I guess everybody in this movie was an orphan because ain't nobody was interested in finding out what happened to any of them. So to hide all of her criminal misdeeds, Mila decides to take Rachel and Starkman's bodies for a drive when she gets pursued by two policemen who were tipped off by the psychiatrist.
Jesus, jumped up and hang on.
I'm sorry. Too many things have happened at once. We went from Jesus to clown music to diegetic clown music in her car. Is she listening to clown music on the radio? She is. She's listening to clown music. And my God, these two cops must have just transferred from Mayberry.
Well, how do you know it was the right girl?
Well, there's only one Rachel Newman registered at West Washington. It had to be her.
I mean, this movie just cannot figure out its tone. It's like, on one hand, it wants to be this like psychological horror, murder movie. But on the other hand, these characters feel like they just came out of a Benny Hill sketch. Ask your grandparents who Benny Hill is. I mean, it's the exact same issue with the score. The score. The movie has two different kinds of sounds playing at any given time. This one, playing clown music. And this one. This fucking soundtrack, dude. It's like a 10 Things I Hate About You soundtrack. And neither of them scream horror movie. I have to assume it's music they just got a good deal on and they figured it was, close enough. The point of the popular music in American Psycho is that Patrick wants to fit in so badly, he only listens to the most popular music and he memorizes all the reviews so that he can fit in. But for a movie that already has enough difficulty as it is with the filmmaking not creating any tension, layering over carnival music really wasn't what it needed. So finally, Mila crashes the car, but because she had Rachel's body in the trunk, everyone decides that, oh, Rachel must have been the one who drove off the cliff and killed Bobby, and that's that.
Rachel Newman's death leaves many questions unanswered. The most burning question of all?
How did the coroner's report get it so bad? So Eric gets to move on with his life and sell his tell-all book that's about Rachel Newman, and everything just seems like a nice distant nightmare until, oh my God.
I mean, what's the point of pulling off the perfect set of murders to realize my dream?
Perfect.
It would be as if I've done nothing at all.
So the movie obviously came out to a resounding thud, which made a lot of people wonder why the movie was even connected to the first one at all. In my opinion, the phrase American Psycho, it kind of doesn't mean anything. It means what? Psycho in America? If you really wanted to try to, sell some tickets based off of the name, then I don't know why they didn't just go for an anthology. This could have just been that original story that wasn't trying to connect itself to the first movie so bad. And they could have made 5 more of them. I mean, you just wait a decade, an American Horror Story would be quite successful doing exactly that. But Mila Kunis herself was so embarrassed by this movie that she ended up making up this story in 2005 with MTV. When I did the second one, I didn't know it would be American Psycho 2. It was supposed to be a different project, and it was re-edited, but ooh, I don't know, bad. Is that so, Mila?
I was there, Bobby. I was in Bateman's apartment. But she was the one who looked through your stuff and found the file on Bateman. Patrick Bateman. Patrick Bateman. Patrick Bateman.
Because it sure seems like you knew exactly what movie it was. Unless you meant you thought you were making American Psycho 3. All in all, I give this movie 2 thumbs up. The end. Morgan Freeman made himself a movie. And it wasn't good. Okay. Is there a post-credit scene? Does Thanos show up at the end? Shit!